Good morning, ladies. I'm on my way to work this morning, and I just want to say happy Easter coming up and share a little bit with you about what the Lord's been showing me in His Word this week as I've studied through the book of Luke, and I'm getting closer to the end of the book. And what I found is that the nearer Jesus gets to the cross, the more He is persecuted and mocked and scoffed at. According to Luke 16, we see the Pharisees are scoffing at what He is teaching and who He is. And as I was thinking about that this morning, I was also thinking about the teaching that Jesus was doing during this time. And I find it interesting that some of the hardest passages that I come across that in Jesus' teaching, I'll look down, I'll say, well, I don't really understand what that means. And I look down into the notes in my Bible, the commentary, if you will, that it kind of explains the verses, and sometimes those very difficult passages are just skipped. And I would assume that's just because they're very difficult passages. But what we see is that Jesus' teaching gets more difficult as He nears the cross. It gets harder to bear, it gets harder to understand, and it gets harder to live. So we see Him teaching about the slave in the end of Luke 16, and it says, the slave goes out, takes care of his master all day long, does all his work, and then comes back, and before he eats, he needs to serve his master. And then it ends with this about, it gets really no commendation because he's not doing anything above and beyond. He's just doing what his duty is in caring for his master. And it's kind of hard to think about what does Jesus mean by that as He teaches that. But we will find, just as Jesus got near the cross and the pressure came, and the persecution and deep hatred for Him from the Pharisees and the religious leaders of the day. So the same for us as we draw near the cross, and we draw near our cross and take up our cross to follow Jesus. And as we draw nearer to our Lord and we're more in His Word, it gets more difficult. It doesn't get easier. The challenges get greater. I was thinking about the verse, that I may know Him and the power of His resurrection. We want to know the Lord more and be more like Him and serve Him in a greater way. And that should be the challenge and the desire of our heart. But it says that I may know Him and the power of His resurrection. We're getting ready to celebrate His resurrection this coming Sunday. And we're so blessed. And what He came and did for us is just beyond words and beyond description. And there's nothing greater than understanding the power of His resurrection and what it's done in our lives, and the promises to come of redemption for the whole world. But it's followed by another phrase, that I may know Him and the power of His resurrection and the fellowship of His sufferings. If we're really going to know Jesus and grow closer to Him and go closer and pick up our cross and follow Him, we're also going to share in the fellowship of His sufferings. People won't always understand, and people may reject us because of what we believe. And you're going to struggle in ministry because people aren't going to understand there either. Even inside the church, there's going to be hurt and there's going to be pain. And just continuing to be faithful, to be steadfast, to walk with Him, to persevere through all of that, that is just the duty of those who are true followers and true disciples of Jesus. I do pray that you will just not only embrace this coming Sunday. We get so busy in preparation for the services that are to come on Sunday that sometimes we skip over this last week of the life of Christ on earth, and we forget to just let our hearts and minds be wrapped around what He lived during that week preceding the crucifixion and then the blessed day of the resurrection. I'll pray for you today, and I hope you have a great day in our Lord Jesus Christ.